I love apologetics. I get passionate about them. I'm interested in them. I like to talk about them. I like to learn about them. And I always felt like apologetics, that the approaching God through well-reasoned arguments, learning what are the reasons that God exists, what are the reasons I should put my faith in the Bible. I always felt like that strengthened my faith. It got me excited about my faith. And so I like to talk about it. I also hope that by talking about apologetics, sharing my faith in this way, that I hope I'm doing something good for the kingdom. I hope when I talk to a non-believer and I share some type of apologetic that I'm doing something for God. You know, I'd love to think that at the end of my life, I'm going to appear before God and he's going to say, well done, good and faithful servant, you know, that I use my time on earth wisely. But a lot of times, I don't really feel like I'm accomplishing very much. I'll talk with people, non-believing people, and I'll explain to them the reasons why I believe that God exists, that Christianity is true, and they will share their response with me, their reasons why they think God does not exist, that Christianity is not to be trusted. And at the end of the conversation, it'll feel like, you know, neither of us moved on our positions. Or other times I might share my faith and I'll just get kind of aloofness, that they just didn't really seem very interested in my arguments. My arguments were lame, basically. And it can be very frustrating and almost discouraging, because I want to be accomplishing something, right? I would love to have these conversations where I share my faith, I talk about apologetics, and somebody immediately is like, yep, you're right, I'm coming to faith today. I'm saved. From this point forward, I'm a Christian. But that's not the experience that I have. I've heard other Christians talk about experiences like that they've had, that they could point to people and say, that person, you know, they'll know in their mind that that person is a Christian because of something that they directly influenced, okay? Obviously, God is a huge part of this, but that they got to be used by God to bring somebody to faith. And I don't always feel that. I mean, I think I hope it's a normal question to ask. Is God even using me for anything? Because I'm not seeing people turn to faith. One thing that always encourages me, I always think about something that some Christians in Utah told me. I have spent a lot of time in Utah meeting with Christians, and a lot of Christians in Utah are former Mormons, people who grew up in Mormonism and at some point in their life came to faith, left Mormonism, and are now Christians. A lot of them, I actually say probably almost all of them that I've talked to about this issue, always talk about a series of Christians that they talked to in their life. You know, they grew up in Mormonism and surrounded by a culture that had a lot of like-minded people in it. So there wasn't maybe a lot of Christians even around them. But over their life, they met Christians occasionally, and each time a Christian would share something about Christianity with them, some little piece of truth about God with them. And they always would talk about this series of people that it took, many people, 5, 10 people, over the course of many years, that had serious faith conversations with them before they made the decision to leave Mormonism. In fact, they would say that a lot of times the first person who talked to them, that first Christian was used by God to put them on a path towards truth, towards finding the truth of Jesus. But they often would say, you know, I don't even think that Christian would ever have guessed that I would have left Mormonism, because my interaction with them was totally hostile. Not whether rude or not, they were not open to the idea of Christianity, or at least they didn't act it. That first Christian got them thinking about Christianity in their own mind, but they would never have admitted it to that Christian. Instead, they were hardcore for their position that Mormonism was true and that the Christian was wrong. And then each conversation, they became a little bit more warm to the idea of Christianity, even though they may not have expressed it to the Christians they were talking to. And then finally a Christian came along, and they were that last Christian in the line, and when that Christian shared their faith, they were like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to accept Christianity. I would love if God would bless me with being that last type of Christian, the last Christian in the line, the one that always gets to be the one to experience someone coming to faith. And there's probably plenty of people who are blessed with being that last Christian in the line. Sometimes I think maybe I'm just blessed with being the first Christian in the line. Sometimes it feels like more of a curse than a blessing, but maybe I'm that first Christian who just started the conversation, but I didn't get to finish it. At least that's my hope. My hope is that at the very least, if I'm not making a visible impact on somebody I'm talking to, that I'm planting that seed, that maybe I hope that I'm the first person or somebody along that line who just gave them one nugget to think about, something that they couldn't ignore, some idea about Christianity, about God, about truth, about reality, that kind of stuck with them and stayed in the back of their minds, so that eventually, after maybe years, who knows how long it'll be, eventually they'll meet that last Christian who will share their faith with them, and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I've actually been wrestling with these issues for a while, and now I'm ready to come to faith. I think that all we can do for God is do our best. I want to try to serve God as best I can, and if I'm seeing results or not right in front of me in my own life, I got to give that to God. This is all in God's control anyways. He's being nice enough to let us be part of this plan of bringing people to faith. But it's not about us. We're just one piece of the puzzle about something bigger that God is doing in each individual's lives. And so I want to make sure that I'm being content with just doing my best, regardless of the outcome I'm seeing in the moment.